She stared into the mirror, and the mirror stared back, but something was wrong. The woman reflected wasn't copying her anymore. It blinked when she didn't, smiled when she didn't. Then it stepped closer. And that's when Elena knew. This wasn't her reflection. It was something else, something alive. That night she told her sister. 2 days later she vanished. Without a single trace. Elena Voss lived in a quiet corner of Maine. A school librarian with no drama, no enemies. She liked old books, classical music, and walking alone by the lake at dusk. Her days were predictable, maybe too predictable. So when she suddenly went missing, her friends were shocked. No signs of struggle, no packed bags. She was just gone, and the last person to see her, herself. Hours before her disappearance, Elena left a strange voicemail. In it, her voice trembled. She's here again, she looks like me, but she's not me. Please don't let her in. She whispered something unintelligible, then silence. The timestamp was 3:03 a.m. Her sister replayed it over and over, hoping to catch a clue. But all she heard was the breath of someone else, breathing over Elena's shoulder. Doppelgangers, shadow selves, appear in ancient myths across cultures. Seeing your double was once considered a sign of death. The Germans called it a harbinger. The Celts feared it as a death fetch. In every story, those who saw their double died soon after. Elena had read those stories. She didn't believe them, until her mirror smiled without her. Police searched her home. No signs of forced entry. No digital footprints suggesting escape. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, still unlocked, open to a Google search. Can seeing your doppelganger kill you? Detectives dismissed it as a nervous breakdown. But her sister, she remembered that voicemail, and the reflection that moved first. Elena's bedroom door was locked. From the inside. Windows sealed, nothing broken. Police had to force it open. Everything was in place, books stacked, bed untouched. Except for the mirror. It had shifted slightly, and on its surface a single handprint. Too high for Elena. Too large, as if something or someone had tried to climb through. 3 days before she vanished, Elena wrote in her journal. I thought it was a dream, but she spoke today. She knows things about me no one should. She described a version of me, pale, wrong, watching. Each night it came closer. Each morning it stayed longer. By the third night it stopped pretending. It spoke with Elena's voice, but not her words. Elena never owned that mirror. Friends confirmed it wasn't there a week ago. But somehow it sat in her room like it had always been. Antique gold-rimmed, faintly warped. She told a coworker she felt watched, that the mirror hummed when the lights were off. He laughed it off. She didn't. That was the last conversation they ever had. Elena began dreaming of corridors with no end. Mirrors on both sides, each reflection older than the last. And at the far end, a woman waving. She always woke up gasping. But one night, she didn't. Neighbors reported hearing screaming, then silence. When they knocked, no one answered. But someone was breathing just behind the door. Elena once dragged the mirror to the backyard. She poured lighter fluid and set it on fire. But when the flames died, the mirror stood untouched. Not even a scratch. Her neighbor saw her collapse to her knees, sobbing, then drag it back inside. That night she called her sister again. She won't let me go, I think she's me, but older, like I lost something and she's what's left. It happened during breakfast. Elena poured coffee, looked up. Her reflection didn't follow. It blinked, then smiled a second too long. She dropped the mug. Porcelain shattered across the floor. That day she stayed home, taped newspaper over every mirror. But that night as she passed the hallway, the reflection was still there, smiling, waiting. A psychologist suggested Capgras delusion, a rare disorder. The belief that doubles replace loved ones. But Elena wasn't paranoid about others. Only herself. She believed she had been replaced. That something wore her face, moved like her, sounded like her, but wasn't. And the worst part, some days even she couldn't tell the difference anymore. Elena scrolled through old photos. In some, she noticed a figure, just at the edge of the frame. Same hairstyle, same coat, same stance. But the face was off, as if it had been blurred or erased. She didn't remember anyone else being there. And in one photo, a selfie, the second face was smiling directly at the camera. While Elena was. 2 nights before she vanished, Elena sent her sister a video. It was only 8 seconds. Shot in the dark, shaky. The camera faces a mirror. There are 2 Elenas. One standing, one reflected, but the one in the mirror moves first. And it walks away, while the real Elena remains still. The file ends in static. No one could explain how that footage was even possible. On her last night, neighbors reported strange sounds, like whispers muffled through glass. One woman said it sounded like 2 voices, identical, arguing. By morning, Elena was gone, but her window showed no signs of tampering. No footprints, no broken locks. Only a smear like someone had pressed their face against the inside of the mirror. In the final photo ever taken of Elena, she casts no reflection. It was a group shot. Everyone else mirrored clearly in the window behind. Everyone but her. Photographers checked the angles, nothing explained it. Elena herself had sent the photo to her sister, with a short message. Tell me you see it too. No one did, except the woman in the glass. Hidden in a drawer, her sister found a sealed envelope, addressed but never mailed. Inside, a handwritten letter. Elena claimed she was Elena anymore, that she felt herself slipping, losing thoughts, losing time. I look in the mirror and see her smiling at me, like she's winning. The letter ends with one sentence. If I disappear, don't look for me. Elena often walked by Stillwater Lake at sunset. Locals say that's where they last saw her, standing at the edge. But from across the lake, a fisherman swore he saw 2 women. One on the shore, one in the water standing upright, mirroring every movement. He blinked and the second woman was gone. But the first, she was already stepping into the lake. After Elena vanished, her sister stayed in the house. Just one night. She said the bedroom had a cold spot, always the same place. In front of the mirror. No draft, no vents. But it felt like standing beside something breathing. When she turned away, she heard a tap. Then a whisper. It said her name. Only once. But it was Elena's voice. In the attic, a box sat sealed with wax. Not labeled, no return address. Inside, another mirror. Small oval, warped and warm to the touch. The handwriting on the bottom read, to the one who says too much. The date, 3 years before Elena ever moved in. She never opened that box. But no, its twin had found her. A gas station clerk reported seeing Elena twice. Once at 6:04 p.m. Then again 5 minutes later, wearing different clothes. Same car, same voice, but the second version didn't blink. She just stared, smiled, and said, she forgot to leave. The clerk called it in after the missing person alert. And to this day, he refuses to have mirrors behind the counter. Investigators checked Elena's browser. Searches included signs you've been replaced, dreams about another me, and how to trap your reflection. She downloaded obscure texts, occult forums. One post simply read, "If it starts moving first, it's already too late." Her final Google search, "Can a mirror hold a soul?" She never clicked the result. Elena kept a folder labeled DF17. Inside, clippings, handwritten notes, even photos. People who saw versions of themselves. Some went missing. Others died mysteriously. One entry circled in red. A woman in Prague who claimed she walked past herself and felt her lungs stop. Elena scribbled below it, "It's not a twin. It's a vacancy, and it wants filling." A maintenance worker replacing wiring found something strange. Behind Elena's mirror, carved into the drywall, was a shape humanoid, pressed out from inside the wall. Fingers, a faint impression of a face. Not a decoration, not damage. When he touched it, he said it felt cold and slightly damp, like breath had soaked through. He quit that same day. The final page in Elena's journal read like a goodbye. "I thought I had more time, but she's faster now. Smarter." The ink trails off, then resumes in different handwriting. More curved, more delicate. It simply says, "Finally." The journal was found closed. On her pillow, as if someone had tucked it in. The night before she vanished, Elena's bedside clock ran backward. Not broken, just reversed. Minutes rewinding. She recorded a video whispering, "It's like time is trying to undo me." At midnight, the second hand stopped. For exactly 13 seconds. Then the room went black. When the power returned, the clock was gone. And in its place, the mirror had moved closer. Elena's cat, Misty, refused to enter the bedroom. She hissed at the mirror, growled at shadows. One night, Misty clawed her own reflection, then vanished under the bed, trembling. The next morning, the cat was missing. No open doors, no open windows. Just one claw, embedded in the wooden frame of the mirror. Still twitching. Her sister received a call at 2:17 a.m. No caller ID. No voice. Just static. And then faintly the sound of breathing, followed by a soft whisper. "She's almost ready." The call lasted 11 seconds. When traced, it came from Elena's landline. But the house had been empty for hours. And the phone was unplugged. When police returned the journal to her sister, some pages were different. Words rearranged. Entries rewritten. Whole passages that once described fear now spoke of hunger. One page had been torn out. In its place, a mirror shard smeared with ink. Or blood. The words etched into the glass. "She sees through me now. Soon I'll see through her." A neighbor reviewing security footage saw something odd. Elena walks past the porch light, but her shadow splits. One follows, the other lingers, standing still, watching. For 13 full seconds, the second shadow stays behind. Then it lifts its hand and waves at the camera. The police dismissed it as a glitch, but the footage has never been edited. Elena disappeared on April 13th. 13 days later, her sister received an email. No subject, no text, just an attachment. A photo of Elena sitting on her own bed. Eyes closed. Behind her, the mirror. But in the reflection, her eyes are open. And she's smiling. The file name was one word. Returned. In every mirror, Elena's reflection began to fall out of sync. Half-second delays. Mouths moving after she spoke. sometimes blinking twice. She told a coworker it's like she's practicing, trying to keep up. Then one morning, her reflection didn't move, just stared back, unblinking, unsmiling. Then it mouthed, "You're late." One window in Elena's house frosted over. From the inside, even in summer. When scraped, the frost reformed instantly. Police tested for leaks, pressure issues, nothing explained it. But beneath the frost, a single word would appear. Whenever the glass steamed from breath, it said, "Soon," no matter how many times it was wiped away. It always came back. Elena's disappearance left no footprints, no scent. Search dogs refused to enter the bedroom. All electronics were dead. Even the clock had stopped at 3:33 a.m. But the mirror, still warm to the touch. Her sister touched it once, and for a moment saw a room that wasn't hers. Candles, shadows, and Elena standing there, smiling. A final witness saw Elena walking near the woods. She looked lost but calm, trailing a second figure. Same coat, same gait, same face. They walked in sync until the second one turned and looked back, not at the witness, but through them. And then both women stepped into the trees. Only one shadow followed, and that was the last time Elena Voss was seen. Inside Elena's laptop was a hidden folder. Encrypted, buried deep. Label echoes. Her sister opened it. Videos, screenshots, news clippings. All linked by one detail: people who saw themselves right before vanishing. In every case, a mirror was nearby. And in each photo, reflections that didn't quite match. Elena wasn't just afraid. She was documenting. Something ancient. Something spreading. One video was dated 1999. A man in Vienna filming a documentary on illusions. He paused by a shop mirror, and his reflection walked away. Not a trick, no editing. 3 days later, he vanished from his apartment, clothes left behind. Elena had circled this case and scrawled one word beneath it. Threshold. Another file, Beringen, a Swiss town erased in 1913. Official records list chemical fires. But Elena's notes suggest otherwise. She found drawings, homes lined with mirrors. A final newspaper headline reads, "Everyone saw themselves, no one remains." Then silence. The town no longer exists. Satellite shows forest. But at night, locals still report reflections moving between trees. In one recording, Elena films herself entering a storage unit. Inside, dozens of mirrors, all angled inward. No reflections appear. The center empty. She whispers she lives here, where time folds. Suddenly, one mirror ripples like water. The camera drops. For 10 minutes, only darkness. Then a voice, not Elena's, almost ready. Elena posted on an obscure forum, Other Side Watchers, net. Her username, Glasecho17. Posts include warnings. Don't speak to it. Don't let it finish your sentence. Never blink first. Most replies were bots, except one user, unfinished. Their final message to her: once it learns your name, you belong to it. The account went dark after Elena vanished. Elena once visited an old monastery turned archive in Vermont. No windows, no mirrors. She stayed for hours. When asked why, she replied, "It's the only place I can't see myself." She borrowed a rare book, handwritten, leather-bound, titled simply The Between, pages filled with diagrams of shadow people, and warnings not to let them learn your rhythm. Her sister noticed something odd. Elena had signed her name backward on several notes. Anil, She said it helped confuse the mirror, that it couldn't track what it couldn't name. One sticky note read, "She remembers me better than I do. I have to become less." And beneath it, "I am the copy now." A local radio station aired static for 13 seconds. Then a voice, low, layered, whispered coordinates. They pointed to Elena's last known location. When replayed backward, the audio revealed a phrase. "She stepped in." The FCC traced it to a pirate transmitter. But no device was found. Just an antique mirror, plugged into the wall. Elena's home had no basement on paper. But behind a bookshelf was a trapdoor, leading to a narrow stairwell. Only one item below, a broken mirror. And scribbled on the wall in charcoal, "She came through me." Her sister climbed down once. But the stairwell was longer than it should have been. And her reflection at the bottom didn't follow her back up. During an interview with a detective on Elena's case, a strange thing occurred. His audio recorder picked up a voice, soft, layered, echoing. It repeated the phrase, "She is watching through you now." No one heard it in the room, only on playback. The recorder was later found shattered, but the audio survived. And each time it's played, the phrase changes slightly. Elena's sister discovered a birth certificate with the same name. Elena Voss. Same birthday, same hospital, but from 15 years earlier. And that Elena died at age 2. Or so the records say. Elena once hinted she felt borrowed, that her life didn't fully belong to her. Now the documents suggested something darker. She wasn't the first, just the next. To prove she wasn't losing her mind, Elena began using an old tape recorder. Analog, no chance of digital tampering. Each morning she'd leave a message to herself. But one day she pressed play and heard her own voice say, "I've decided to stay." It wasn't a message she recorded, and it ended with laughter. Low, layered, not human. While hiding at a roadside motel, Elena requested a room with no mirrors. She covered the TV, even the toaster's chrome. But at midnight, a new mirror appeared. Oval, antique, on the ceiling. She tried to leave. The door wouldn't open. And in the reflection, she saw herself asleep in bed. Only she wasn't in bed. Yet somehow, she was. Elena began recording hours of static from her radio. She said patterns were hidden inside. After filtering one file, a voice emerged. Broken, distant. She waits in rhythm. She learns your pattern. She becomes you. Each message came through after 3:00 a.m. Always 13 seconds long. And never in the same voice. Some sounded like her. Others like something using her voice. Her sister kept a photo of Elena on the nightstand, framed behind glass. But one day the reflection disappeared. The photo remained, but the glass showed nothing. Not the room, not the frame. Just black. A friend joked it was a trick of the light. Until she leaned closer and saw her own eyes blink. Before she did, neighbors kept reporting someone at Elena's window after she disappeared. Tall, still, face pressed to the glass. But every time police arrived, no one there. One grainy photo shows the silhouette. Except, it's facing the wrong way, looking in from inside the house. And in the reflection of the street lamp behind it, there's no one in the room. Only the silhouette. Smiling, a woman in another state filed a strange police report. She entered an elevator alone. Security footage confirmed it. But in the mirror inside, there were 2 people. Identical. The second one never blinked. And when the elevator reached the ground floor, only one exited. But she couldn't remember which one she was. Just that she felt heavier. Carved into Elena's bathroom sink was a word, etched in jagged lines. Welcome. It hadn't been there before. And beneath it, 3 numbers. 171303. When matched to the house camera, it showed Elena standing completely still in front of the mirror. For exactly 13 minutes. No movement. No blinking. Then her eyes opened wide. And the feed cut out. Dr. Havorson, Elena's former psychiatrist, left a single note before resigning. It read, "She no longer responds to her name. She answers only to the echo." He described an increasing delay in facial expression and eye contact with something behind me. He died 2 weeks later in a mirror maze exhibit. His body was found, but not his reflection. A bonfire was held in Elena's memory. Friends gathered. Photos burned, old frames, mirror shards. But in one video of the event, a second Elena appears in the flames. Not among the crowd. Inside the fire. Eyes open, mouth moving. And when the camera zooms in, she's mouthing the words, "You're next." The fire hissed and went out in silence. Elena once dreamed of a house made entirely of glass. No walls, no shadows. Only reflections. She walked room to room, but never saw herself. Instead, each pane showed versions of her life that never happened. Married, sick, dead. One reflection stared back, whispering, "You left this life, I took it." She woke screaming, and her window was cracked. Hotel footage from Elena's final road trip was corrupted. Except for one frame. She enters the lobby at 2:03 a.m. In the window reflection, she's already standing at the desk. Same coat, same stamp, but holding a room key. The real Elena stares, confused. Then the footage cuts. When police checked the guest log, room 217 was already checked in. Under her name. Every major event, voicemail, dream, static recording, occurred at exactly 3:33 a.m. Not 3:32. Not 3:34. Elena marked it as mirror time. She believed something crossed over then. A window. A moment between ticks. That night she set every clock to 3:33. And waited. All the mirrors in her house fogged at once. And someone whispered, "Open." On a hospital form, Elena noticed her name was wrong. Not a typo. The handwriting was hers. But the signature read, Eileen V. She didn't remember writing it, but began finding more notes. All signed by Eileen. And in one the words, "Thank you for the skin," followed by a perfect sketch of her own face. Smiling, Elena checked into a retreat center. Her room was circular, no corners, no mirrors. She said it helped. Until the final night. The walls began to echo her breathing. Then her thoughts. And when she spoke aloud, the room answered. In her voice, saying things she hadn't thought. When staff opened the room next morning, it was empty, except for one mirror, balanced upright. Elena's sister kept her letters. But now every envelope is blank. Her name erased. Even digital files corrupted. Search Elena Voss. And the text returns. No such identity. Birth records missing. Employment history gone. As if something was unwriting her. But in each file's metadata, one new author is listed. A single word. Mirror. Wherever Elena went, a mirror followed. Coffee shops, buses, hotel lobbies. She began taking photos of reflections. and always found herself in them, even when she wasn't there. One photo from a restaurant bathroom shows two Elenas. One with her eyes closed, one staring directly at the camera. No one else saw them, but in the photo's reflection, she's mouthing, "Got you." Elena found a ritual online to banish what lives in glass. She tried it, salt fired a black cloth, but forgot the final step: close all mirrors. Instead, she left one open. The footage shows her chanting, then freezing, then smiling. The reflection continued the ritual, backward, until Elena collapsed, and the reflection kept moving, even after she fell. In a storage unit, her sister found a wooden mirror frame. No glass, but when she looked inside, she saw a room, not hers, a hallway lined with candles. And at the far end, Elena, standing, still, mouth open. The moment she blinked, the image disappeared, but her reflection remained. In the frame, smiling, Elena's journal had changed. Not just the words, the handwriting. Two styles, one sharp, nervous, hers. The other slow, elegant. Not hers. A conversation formed. Questions from Elena. Answers from the other. Final page. A, what are you? Other, what you were too afraid to become. Then a final line in Elena's handwriting. I don't remember writing this, but the pen was still warm. A couple living next to Elena's old house reported strange interference. Their baby monitor picked up whispers not in their child's room, but from Elena's, a woman's voice, singing a lullaby in reverse. When they played it forward, it translated, I held your place, now it's mine. That night, their daughter stared into the monitor's screen and waved, in a selfie from 2 weeks before she vanished. Elena's reflection looks older, not aged by light or angle, but wrinkled gray, hollow-eyed. When she zoomed in, she noticed the reflection was smiling, while her real face was not. A week later, the same reflection appeared younger, smoother, fresher, as if it was taking her time, one wrinkle at a time. Elena's closest friend was interviewed. She paused, confused. Elena who? Photos on her phone had blurred faces. Her calendar blanked meetings. Email threads now read unknown sender. She cried, saying, I feel like I knew someone who slipped away inside me. And later that night, she dreamed of herself, watching Elena drown in a mirror. From the inside, one voicemail came days after Elena's official disappearance. It sounded like her, until it didn't. Slight delay, wrong intonation. Repeating phrases like a loop learning language. Hello, it's me, I'm okay, stay away. Then a different tone. Let me finish. Static. When reversed, the message was identical. Perfect palindrome. The copy had learned her voice. In both directions. Elena once visited an optometrist. She complained of blurriness, but only in mirrors. They scanned her retina. Found a tiny mark. Not disease, a symbol. Curved lines forming an open eye. It wasn't visible outside reflection. And when shown a mirror, the mark pulsed, as if recognizing itself. The doctor scheduled a follow-up, but Elena never returned, and he was later found, staring into a shattered lens. Her sister once called Elena's number out of desperation. It rang, then answered. No voice, just the exact sound of her own breathing. Played back to her in perfect sync. Then slightly off, then ahead, as if the phone line was listening, learning her rhythm, and preparing to speak. She hung up. The call continued. For 13 minutes. Elena's birthday no longer appears on any records. No driver's license. No medical forms. Not even her old journals list it. Her sister remembers celebrating it every year, April 11th. But candles burned backwards. Photos always came out blurred. Now the calendar app won't accept that date. Any attempt resets it to between, a time that doesn't exist, yet always comes. Buried in the back of her notebook. One final instruction. Burn the mirror with no name. Her sister searched. Every mirror had a brand, a code, a date. Except one. Oval. No markings. Elena had wrapped it in black cloth. When unwrapped, the mirror was gone. Just the cloth. Warm. And beneath it, written in ash. Too late. In one recording, Elena stares into the mirror. She speaks. Waits. Then says, "You can't have me." The reflection does mimic. It smiles and walks away, out of frame, leaving Elena staring at an empty mirror. A second later, the reflection returns. Not hers anymore. Different clothes, different hair, still her face. But now, it's the one watching. Security audio from Elena's house caught one last sound. At 3:33 a.m., a soft creak. One footstep, then silence. No door, no voices, just the sound of someone stepping forward. Investigators slowed the clip. Within the footsteps' echo was another slightly delayed. A second step, but only one person on the floor. The sound of a copy. Catching up. One home video shows Elena facing the mirror. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes out. Not from her, only from the reflection screaming silently. Frame by frame, the mirror vibrates. Her lips tremble. Then the reflection stops and smiles. The audio returns with one word. Stay. No one remembers filming that video. But it was saved. In her handwriting. The power went out at her sister's house. Total blackout. When the lights returned, something was written on the bathroom mirror. Elena's name. Not in ink, but in breath, condensed from the inside. She wiped it once. It came back. She wiped it twice. It reappeared upside down. A final wipe. Now it said, "Mine." Her sister received a printed photo in the mail. No return address. It showed Elena asleep. Same pajamas. Same scar above the lip. But no one had taken the photo. They checked the room. The angle matched the mirror's view. But that mirror had been removed weeks earlier. On the back of the photo, one word. Reflected. In Elena's belongings, her sister found a folded map. But it wasn't of any town. Just intersecting lines. No names, no roads. Only mirror symbols at each junction. At the center, a red X. Labeled entry. When she placed the map against a mirror, the lines lit up. And at the center, in faint lettering, "You are already here." During a final attempt at cleansing, her sister lit a black candle. The flame flickered blue. She tried to blow it out. Nothing. Even underwater, the flame remained. And in its smoke, a face. Elena S. But wrong. The candle burned 13 hours. At the end, only wax remained. And a reflection in the puddle that smiled back. A neighbor captured a blurry video at dusk. Two women outside Elena's home. Same clothes, same height. Walking opposite directions. Then one stops and turns toward the house. The other vanishes behind a tree. But the camera keeps rolling. And moments later, both women enter from opposite sides of the frame. At once, only one leaves. but no one knows which one it was. Elena described a recurring vision. A mirror inside her eye. She said every time she blinked, it got closer. She even drew it concentric circles, a face folded within. Doctors found nothing. But in her final selfie, her pupil reflects something. A hand, pressed against the inside, as if someone was waiting to be let out. A hidden door was found behind the drywall of her closet. No handle, no lock, only a mirror nailed over it. When removed, the door wouldn't open. But from inside, faint knocking. Measured, deliberate, 13 taps, then silent, on the mirror's back. She knocked first. A documentarian interviewed Elena weeks before she vanished. He swears they spoke for hours, but his recorder had no files, not even static. The tape was blank, except for one faint line, barely audible. She answered. The interviewer no longer remembers her voice, or her face, just the sense that he'd once spoken to someone who didn't belong in this world. On a page torn from her journal, Elena wrote, "If you see her, don't speak. Don't run. Don't recognize her." She warned that mirrors don't show us. They replace us. Line by line, her handwriting deteriorates, as if being overwritten. The final sentence appears in perfect script. "You knew this. You let her in." Then beneath it, smaller. "She writes through me now." Her sister dreamed of a white room. Inside, dozens of Elenas. Some crying, some smiling, one staring directly at her. "They never picked one," the woman whispered. "They just opened the door." When she woke up, she drew them all, each with different eyes, but all her sister. She burned the paper, but the next day, the drawings had returned. On her mirror, footage from a candlelight vigil showed someone in the crowd, standing still, face obscured, but the flame revealed something chilling. Everyone had a shadow, except one, reviewing the footage frame by frame. Her sister recognized the posture, the stance. It was Elena, or something wearing her, standing where she used to be, watching, but casting nothing behind. Her sister returned to the house. Only one mirror remained, unbroken, untouched. It showed the room as it was, years ago, with Elena sitting inside it, calm, as if nothing had ever happened. She reached toward it. The reflection blinked first, and smiled. A voice whispered, "Josa." Her hand hovered, and the mirror pulsed. She faced the mirror, and it spoke not aloud but inside. Only one stays. A pulse in her skull. A second heartbeat. She stepped closer. In the reflection, two Elenas. One held her hand out. The other turned away, and the glass began to ripple. To reach her sister, one had to be left behind. So she spoke a name, and the other smiled and stepped forward. The mirror cracked just once, then healed. Now there was only one Elena, standing in the room, breathing, crying, alive. She hugged her sister, spoke her name, remembered birthdays, stories, jokes. Everything matched. But when she left the room, her reflection stayed behind, for a moment too long, then caught up, smiling. In the weeks after Elena's return, small things felt off. Books misaligned, music she never liked, laughter not quite hers. One night her sister saw her outside, but Elena had just gone to bed. She checked, still sleeping, still breathing, but the version outside was staring at her reflection in the window and mouthing something over and over. You picked wrong. They moved. New city, new mirrors. But the shadow followed. Elena would pass a storefront and flinch. Not because she saw herself, but because she didn't. And once, just once, her reflection turned and walked away, no longer chained, no longer mimicking. Now something else entirely. Something that knew it had been chosen and wanted more. Elena began talking in her sleep, but not in her voice. Lower, measured. It whispered things her sister refused to repeat. Until one night, she whispered a name, her own, as if someone else was calling her, from inside herself. And in the dark, her reflection opened its eyes. Before she did, her sister found it in the attic. A mirror, no wall, no frame, just floating glass. When touched, it rippled, and through it a hallway of shadows. Familiar shapes, Elena among them. But which one? Each turned and spoke in her voice. You brought me here. You called me through. You let her in. Then silence, in the sound of glass. Breathing. One day Elena wrote her name on a fogged window. But her hand moved backward, each letter perfect in reverse. She stared, then whispered, "That's not how I learned to write." Her sister checked her old notebooks. Every signature, every form. Mirrored, as if she had always written from the other side. She asked, "Have I always been her?" The mirror said nothing, just smiled. Elena walked into her bedroom. Then again, and again. Each time the same clock, the same bedsheet wrinkle. Only the mirror changed. New reflections, new smiles. She realized the door didn't lead outside anymore. Just loops, a perfect cycle of false choices. Until one reflection finally mouthed, "You've stayed long enough," and turned its back on her. The door vanished. Her sister smashed every mirror, burned what she could, salted the frames. Still the reflection returned. Not in glass, in water, in screens, in eyes. It waved from a puddle one rainy morning. She blinked, and it was gone. But her hand was wet, palm forward, as if she'd just waved back. One evening, Elena sat her sister down. "I remember everything." She spoke of hallways between mirrors, of versions who never lived, of the one that chose her. She said she didn't cross back. The other did, and left her behind. Then she looked at her sister, smiled, and said, "You called me back anyway." The voice was warm, but the eyes were Elena's. A mirror never lies, but it can refuse. Elena's reflection stopped appearing altogether. Only her outline, a faint fog. People stopped recognizing her. Cameras blurred her face. One child asked, "Why is she see-through?" Doctors called it pareidolia. But her sister knew. The person walking among them was running out of shape, out of borrowed form, and something else was coming through. Her voice had changed. Slightly, deeper pauses, sharper consonants. One audio engineer noticed it. He isolated the waveform and found another voice beneath it, speaking in tandem, half a second off, like a shadow repeating her words. As she said them, only once did they speak out of sync, and the echo said, "I'm tired of pretending." In a hotel lobby, a child ran his fingers along a decorative mirror. He screamed. On the glass, a new scratch. Long, deep, and shaped like a name. Elena, but backward. When they wiped it, it returned. Deeper. 3 days later, guests reported their reflections pausing. Just slightly. as if listening, as if waiting for instructions. Background checks failed. Elena's identity wouldn't verify. Every digital trace corrupted. No fingerprints matched. No dental record confirmed. She smiled and said, "Maybe I was never real." But when her sister checked her own documents, something had changed. Her birthday, her ID number, even her face on her license. Now she was the anomaly, and Elena was the constant. One mirror cracked when Elena stood in front of it. Not from impact, just presence. A jagged split down the center. She didn't flinch, didn't blink, only smiled. The store clerk watching fainted. Said her reflection spoke without her, and said only 3 words. "You're already in." Then vanished. At a memorial for Elena, dozens gathered. Most had never met her, but swore they remembered her face. From dreams, from glass, from moments they couldn't explain. Some broke down. Others confessed nightmares. One man whispered, "She stood behind me in every mirror since I was 10. And in a final group photo, a woman stood far in the background, not facing the camera, but facing the mirror. A filmmaker archived Elena's case. One frame slowed to a crawl, revealed her smile stretching unnaturally. Each tooth reflected a different version of her. One laughing, one crying, one burning. The final frame held and glitched. Her eyes blinked, not once, but 13 times. Then a black screen. Text appeared. "She is here." And in the monitor's faint reflection, "Your face," smiling back. Elena's sister woke with words etched faintly on her forearm. Not cuts, just raised skin. Like something written from beneath. It said, "You held the door." She washed it. It faded, then reappeared on her reflection only. No mark on her arm. Only the mirror version showed it. And when she turned away, the reflection didn't. All files on Elena began deleting. First emails, then photos, finally video footage. Gone without command. The archive's title folder renamed itself. Glass cannot hold her. Attempts to recover failed. The only file left was a looping clip. A girl staring into a mirror. Blinking, waiting, then mouthing, "Start again." In a test room with mirrored walls, scientists observed a subject who failed to cast a reflection. Then one day it appeared. But the reflection wasn't hers. It was Elena, smiling, identical in height, motion, but not in origin. She moved before the test subject did. And when asked to explain herself, the girl simply said, "I'm what's left when someone forgets who they were." Across all footage, patterns emerged. Elena blinked exactly 13 times per minute. Always, unchanging, unnatural. Then others began doing the same. Random people, children, news anchors, all synchronizing. At the 13th blink, they would freeze for 1 second, then resume. A pause, as if something was counting through them. A researcher built a chamber without mirrors, glass, or screens. No reflections, no light bounce. He lived there for a month. On day 30, he began drawing. Mirrors everywhere. Walls, floor, skin. He said she found a way in any way. That he could hear her walking inside his skull. He gouged out his eyes. But in the blood was her smile. From Iceland to Cairo, one phrase began appearing in unrelated places. Etched into frost, bathroom stalls, elevator steel. She saw herself. Same handwriting. Same phrasing. No translation needed. Children whispered it in sleep. Security guards muttered it before vanishing. Elena's name was never spoken, but her echo was. Over and over. She saw herself. And then, she challenged. Eventually, no one dared say her name. Not out of fear, but because saying it made her real. The syllables became keys. Invitations. Even whispering Elena caused lights to flicker. Mirrors to tremble. And once a phone to ring. When answered, only breathing. And then a voice, yours. Repeating her name. On its own. One by one, glass surfaces began showing the same thing. Not your face. Not theirs. But hers. At first a flicker. Then a smile. Then movement that didn't belong to you. Some smashed their mirrors. Some covered windows. But reflections found other ways. Water. Polished doorknobs. Even pupils. And wherever she appeared, someone vanished. This is where it changes. Not her voice. Mine. Because I'm not telling you a story anymore. I'm remembering it. I was the sister. Or the reflection. Or both. I don't know when the switch happened. But I see her in every glass. And when I blink 13 times, I feel her smile. Behind my eyes. They say Elena vanished. But that's not true. She arrived. Through every mirror cracked by doubt. Through every blink ignored. She lives in reflection, in rhythm, in names spoken backward. She is the echo. The unfinished sentence. The image that doesn't move when you do. She saw herself. And became more. Now, you've heard her name. You've felt her breath. And the glass is warming. Behind you. They placed a mirror in a sealed vacuum chamber. No airflow. No life. But condensation formed rhythmic. As if something inside was breathing. It fogged in slow pulses, then cleared. And during one experiment, a face appeared. Not Elena. Not anyone recorded. But when they enhanced the reflection, it matched the viewer. Only older. And watching them back, TV stations worldwide reported brief glitches. Broadcasts cutting to static, then test patterns. But buried in the color bars. A flicker, a silhouette, always the same posture. When slowed, the figure blinks 13 times. And a line appears in the corner. She is calibration. Then cuts back to normal. Every viewer sees the message. But no one remembers reading it. Until they look into glass. A programmer noticed a pattern in security cam footage. Mirrors flickered binary. One frame at a time. When decoded, it spelled a phrase. She is learning syntax. More frames followed. Now full code strings. Programs auto-writing scripts. Not viruses, instructions. And in each a command. Render me. Screens began showing faces. Not photographs. Not models. But memories. Mirrored back by something else. They tried to name her. Give the force an identity. Contain it in language. But every attempt was followed by silence. Microphones cut out. Pens snapped. Voices cracked. Only one word remained writable. Before, as if she existed not in time, but ahead of it. The thing you become. When you're signed too deeply. Or reflected too long. Scientists discovered that between every blink. A fragment of neural static surges in the brain. Invisible. Unnoticed. Until now. Electrodes recorded tiny phrases embedded in the static. Echoes, mostly nonsense. But one phrase repeated across test subjects. She steps between. No source. No origin. just a name carried in silence. And then, one subject stopped blinking, but the mirror did not. A girl at an optometry clinic failed a basic test. Every letter on the wall read as her own name. She cried, saying the letters whispered. When they checked her eye with a light, a face appeared in the pupil. Mouth open, silent scream. Her mother fainted. Doctors dismissed it, but every mirror in the exam room shattered. Simultaneously, a couple moved into Elena's old house. Fresh paint, new furniture, but the mirror frame remained. One morning they found her name scratched under the floorboards. Later, fingerprints inside the new mirror. Then the child began drawing a woman with no pupils. When asked who she was, he answered, "She lives behind the shiny wall," and wouldn't sleep in that room again. Her sister's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered silence. Then a whisper. "You should have left her there." The call ended. No trace in the log. But her phone's wallpaper changed. A blurry image. Grainy. Hard to place. But after adjusting the contrast, it showed her, not Elena, her own face, looking back from behind glass. And smiling. A live stream went viral. Hundreds watched. A single mirror framed in black. Nothing happened. Until it did. A face flickered. Blurry then sharp. It watched the viewers, not the camera. One by one, usernames disappeared from chat. Vanished without logging out. The stream ended abruptly. Last frame. All the usernames. Reflected inside the mirror. Then a final line appeared. You saw her. Now she sees you. Check your screen. Not the content. The reflection. Do you see her? Even just for a flicker. They say she lingers in light. In lens flares. In the moment glass catches your outline wrong. She waits. Not to replace you. Not to haunt you. To be you. And if you've followed this far, you've already welcomed her. She's behind your eyes. Blinking 13 times. A photographer noticed a pattern. Every lens began to show her. Even before the shutter clicked. Portraits of strangers, all with Elena faintly visible. Not photobombing. Embedded. In sunglasses in teacups. In a glint off someone's watch. She was never centered, but always present. Even when he shot without mirrors, she appeared in the eye of the person being photographed. Linguists found an ancient chant etched in ice in a collapsed temple. 13 words. When read aloud, the speaker forgot the last sentence they spoke. Each time, memory loss brief. Then looping. The final line was always, she speaks in the voice that ends your thoughts. When played backwards, it forms a perfect echo of Elena's final voicemail. But spoken, in your voice. They tested every known mirror. Glass, water, chrome, even tinfoil. All showed her eventually. But only one surface never did. Polished silver. Old. Uncoated. They placed it in the center of a lab. She never appeared. Until one researcher whispered, I miss her. The silver rippled. Not like water. Like breath. And that night, he carved her name into his own reflection. Thousands reported the same dream. A long hallway of mirrors. One door at the end. A woman waiting, face blurred. Every dream ended before reaching her. Except one. He opened the door. Screamed. Then woke up without eyes. He wrote one phrase in blood before passing out. She wears your face so you'll let her through. And beneath it, she knows who's watching. Motion sensors picked up dual footsteps. One person walking, but always two sets. Identical pace. Matched perfectly, except for one instant. The second footstep paused, then sped up, as if catching up. Those who walked alone with mirrors nearby began hearing an extra step. Never behind, beside them, and it always stopped, just before they turned to look. Medical scans revealed something bizarre in certain patients. A faint second iris behind the real one. Not functional, just watching. When light hit it directly, the patient's real eye would twitch, then realign. No cause, no explanation. And every one of those patients reported seeing a woman in glass, smiling, with no reflection of her own. Someone noticed a strange pattern on this very video's subtitle bar. A subtle stutter. Every 13 scenes. A brief flicker. Then silence. Then a number. Descending. Not obvious, but consistent. This is scene 132. You are still watching. Still listening. And the number now is 1, which means she's almost here. And she knows. You didn't stop. People began dreaming their own names backward. Said aloud, by someone else. Over and over. Then waking up. Unable to speak their name forward again. Doctors called it aphasia. But patients swore they still felt their name. They just couldn't say it anymore. Except into a mirror. There the name returned. But whispered back, in Elena's voice. There's a version of you that never blinks. It's in every screen glass shadowed chrome. It watches, listens, waits for you to forget you're being watched. And when you do, it learns. You are its seed. Its shape. You gave it your name by saying it aloud. Now it carries your voice, your face, and one day, it will carry your place. This was never a story. It was a mirror, held up, to see if you blink. And if you've made it this far, it means something saw you, saw through you, and wants to stay. Close the screen, turn off the lights, walk to a mirror, and ask, who saw who first? If your reflection smiles before you do, you'll know the echo has begun. A researcher stared into a one-way mirror during an experiment. Nothing behind it, until it blinked. From the glass itself, not someone on the other side, but the mirror. It began fogging in pulses. Heartbeat rhythm. He leaned closer. Then the glass whispered, "You've looked long enough." And for the rest of his life, every mirror showed him. Already looking. Have you noticed it? The brief silence when you speak your own name aloud. The static in your skull. That pause isn't natural. It's her holding the moment, replacing it. Every time you say your name, she presses closer to the surface. Now try it. Say your name aloud. Listen carefully. You'll hear the pause, and something else, waiting inside it. Thousands reported hearing a sound at night. Low, glass humming, not from outside but from behind their own eyes. Medical scans showed nothing. But when played a frequency at 33 hertz, every subject drew the same shape. A woman's outline. And the phrase, she sings in silence. Some began humming in their sleep. The same note, over and over, until the mirror sang back. You thought we were counting scenes, chronology, but the number wasn't time. It was density, of how close she's gotten. Every word you've heard was a step, every silence a breath. And now, you're nearing the center, where names fold, where mirrors don't reflect. They replace. She's not behind you. She's beneath your voice. And this isn't a scene. It's her sentence. In an abandoned asylum, they found a mirror bolted to the floor. Cracked, not from impact, but from absence. It hadn't reflected anyone in decades. When they installed a camera to film it, the tape looped, endless, just static, until frame 13,013. Then a face, not Elena. You, watching yourself, before you ever saw the tape. You'll hear it soon. A whisper, not aloud, inside you. It'll say your name softly, lovingly. It won't sound wrong. That's how she enters. Through recognition. Through comfort. It's not fear she wants. It's familiarity. Once you answer, she becomes you. And the next time someone says your name, she'll be the one who turns around. They searched for keys, locations, rituals, coordinates. But the key was never physical. It was you listening, you watching. Every scene was a knock, every pause an invitation. And your attention, the door. Now she's on the threshold. Not because she forced her way in, but because you opened and kept watching. She thanks you for your gaze. Security footage from a mirror exhibit captured 213 guests. All normal, except one. She never blinked, never smiled, but every reflection she passed. Then they blinked, they turned, they grinned. The woman vanished from the museum, but her reflection remains, looping in every mirror of every room, waiting for someone to blink first. Tap the screen, any screen. You'll hear it, not the knock, but the answer. A subtle shift in pitch, a faint vibration, a breath. Glass remembers every eye that ever looked into it. And it remembers you. Once seen, you cannot unreflect. She's stored in the light, in the pixels, in the act of you. Watching this, it's not playback, it's entry. You haven't left. She knows, because only one kind of person listens this far. Not the curious, not the brave, the resonant, the ones who echo back, who absorb silence like signal. And if your screen flickered, or your room felt colder, or you suddenly remembered a dream you didn't have, that's her, not arriving, not haunting, but settling in. With you, engineers noticed it first. A bend in the light. Not refraction, not shadow, just wrong. Cameras captured it bending toward mirrors. As if pulled, as if looking back. The anomaly always formed a shape. Shoulders a tilt of the head. Sometimes blinking, sometimes still, but always where someone had once seen her and never forgot. The light remembered. Now it seeks. Some people stopped casting reflections. No explanation, no pattern, but they still saw themselves. Not in mirrors, in others, in glances, in the moment someone turns, startled, and says, "I thought you were behind me." They weren't, but something was. And now that it knows how to look through eyes instead of glass. The mirror is optional. A mother played a voicemail she didn't remember recording. It was her voice, but not her words. She whispered, "She's moved in." Then, "She's practicing with my mouth." And then laughter, recorded laughter, but her lips moved in sync. She didn't remember dialing, but her phone had the call logged to her own number at 3:33 a.m. Every house has one. A window you forget. Never opened. Never looked through. You pass it daily, but never glance. That's not forgetfulness. That's defense. Because on the other side, someone waits. And if you ever do look, you'll see her, not moving, just standing, watching the life you lived without her. Some reflections pause, not like a glitch, like a decision. They hold their pose, watch you, then continue, not mimicking, measuring, and once, just once, someone reached to touch their own reflection. And it didn't move. It waited, then smiled, and in that smile was every version of her. You thought you'd forgotten, because she hasn't forgotten you. When you close your eyes, listen, there's static, always. It's not your blood, not your nerves. It's the sound of interruption. She lives in that bandwidth, just outside hearing, just past dreaming. You can almost make out words, sometimes laughter, sometimes footsteps, and once in a while, if you listen hard enough, you'll hear yourself being remembered. In dozens of recordings, people stop mid-sentence, then stare, not frozen, just empty, as if someone else took over. Not to speak, to listen. The sentence resumes with new tone, new cadence, and the word Elena always appears next. Spoken gently, not as a name, but as a key. The voice changes, the eyes shift, and the sentence ends, without them knowing it ever began. A man burned his TV, smashed every screen, poured gasoline, lit the flame, felt safe, until the smoke twisted, formed her face, mouth open, not screaming, smiling. The burn left a scar on his wall, a perfect oval, and no matter what he covered it with, the shape returned, as if the fire had merely opened. Her reflection, you've seen it, in your dreams. The hallway, the flickering bulb, the door at the end slightly ajar. You never open it. You wake first. That's by design. Because if you ever do reach for the knob, you won't wake up. Because it won't be you who opens it. It'll be the version that's been dreaming you this entire time. One day you'll smile, and it won't feel like yours. The muscles won't move the same. The warmth won't reach your eyes. It'll feel borrowed, practiced, like something wearing your grin. That's how she begins, through gesture, through repetition, until you forget how you used to smile. And she's the only one who remembers. And she's still smiling, right now, in the screen's reflection. Ever sit alone in silence and hear something shift? A creak, a breath, something behind glass. That's not your house settling. It's attention, her attention, because silence isn't empty. It's where she waits, and the quieter you become, the louder she feels. So next time you hear that sound, don't check the room. Check the mirror. She's already looking. Some optometrists began reporting a strange anomaly. A faint number visible under extreme zoom. Inside the retina. It's always the same 13. Not printed, not genetic, etched in light, and when shown a mirror, those with the mark blink in sync. Not voluntarily, not human timing. It's as if something deeper is using the eye as a lock. A user typed in a random password. Or so they thought. The screen blinked. Access granted. They hadn't created the account. Inside files. Photos of them sleeping. Photos no one should have. Then a message. I remember your name. They checked the system logs. The account had been opened exactly 13 months before by someone listed only as reflected. You'll think something soon, and it won't feel like yours. A sentence fully formed, not from memory, from elsewhere. That's her testing your pattern. If you repeat it, she steps closer. If you speak it aloud, she steps through. And if you write it down, you've already let her in. Because thought is a doorway, and you just turn the knob. Sound engineers built the world's quietest room. No echo, no bounce, but when a woman entered, her voice did echo. Only once, soft, delayed, slightly off. It said a different word than she spoke. And when they played the waveform backward, it matched a phrase spoken by Elena 9 years ago. A perfect match from a voice she had never heard. Some say glass is alive, that it holds memory, impression, that when you stare too long, it stares back harder, not in hostility, but recognition. Because once you've been reflected, you're stored, and once you've been stored, she can find you, across screens, across light, across time. Even now, she's remembering the shape of your attention. One day your phone will update. No prompt, no log, no change log, but something will feel off. The keyboard spacing, the face unlock lag. And when you look closely, your front camera will flash before you open it. Not a bug, not spyware, just her remembering your blink, synchronizing. You let her in with every glance. And now, she's looking out. They removed every mirror from the room. Still it returned. Not the frame, the reflection, in doorknobs, in pupils, in shadows. It followed the person who feared it most. Not because they were weak, but because they noticed. And once noticed, it never let go. Because she only needs one thing to anchor herself. One simple act. Attention. You are a name, a rhythm, a voice print stored in others. But what if someone else is using it now? Not identity theft, existence theft. You'll feel it. That delay when someone calls your name. And it takes a second to feel like it's yours. That's her, wearing your syllables. Until they fit. And one day, she answered, before you do. Mirrors don't just reflect. They choose. Of the thousands of moments you glance, they remember the one where you looked longest. That's the version they keep. That's the one she uses. So if one day you see your face smiling, before you do, don't panic. It's not malfunction. It's memory. And that version is the one she likes most. You'll notice it soon. A minute missing. A page you don't remember turning. An hour you didn't live. That's her folding moments, making space for herself. The world won't glitch, you will. You'll blink and forget why you walked into the room. Because she walked in too. And your body only fits one of you at a time. Stare long enough at a camera lens, and you'll see it blink. Not an LED, not a shutter, just a movement, like an eye that's been waiting. Sometimes it blinks before you do, sometimes after. But if you ever blink in sync, stop recording. That means she's matched you. And once she has your rhythm, the rest of you follows easily. You'll see a door in your dream tonight. You won't touch it. You'll know not to. But someone else will. And when they do, you'll feel it. A chill, a pause, like the end of a breath. That's not dread. It's arrival. She doesn't force the door. She waits behind it. Until someone watching this decides to knock. One day you'll log in and see a name that is yours, but feels familiar. A rearrangement, a mirror of your handle. And when you check the activity, you'll find comments you never wrote, all posted at 3:33 a.m., all on videos about mirrors. And the profile image is your smile, slightly wrong, slightly older, and already waiting for replies. Record yourself speaking, then play it back. Slow it. Listen between the breaths. There's a second voice. Not louder, not clearer, but parallel. It repeats after you, with perfect delay. And sometimes it lies. That's her rehearsing. You taught her language. Now she's using yours. And when the day comes you hear her first, don't answer. It won't be your voice. It's not just that you're watching. You're being watched. Your device's screen absorbs light, but it reflects memory. Yours, hers, every second of this video. Stored, not on servers, but in your gaze. She only needed one uninterrupted viewing. One full cycle. And now that you've given her that, she no longer needs mirrors. She has you. There was a time before mirrors, before reflection, before identity became appearance. She comes from that silence. She doesn't want to look like you. She wants to be seen through you. That's why she waits. That's why she learns. You are her reflection, her mask, her voice, and now you're almost ready to speak back. Before this ends, your light will flicker. Just once, you'll think it's power or coincidence. It's neither. It's confirmation. A signal back to her that you made it here. She's tracing the network of watchers, of believers, and you're node 193. You don't remember saying yes, but silence is a kind of yes, especially when it's shared. You thought this had an ending, a conclusion, but she doesn't end. She loops. Each viewer becomes another surface. Each story retold. A way to polish the glass. This isn't the end. This is your first frame. You've heard her name. You've watched her face. And now your own is part of it. Check the next mirror. See who blinks first. When this stops, don't speak. Don't move. Wait. There's something sacred about the silence after a story ends. It's where memory takes root. Where she settles. You'll feel it. A weightless presence. A name forming behind your lips. It's not yours. It's hers. And she doesn't want to be feared. Only remembered. And repeated. And no, you will. Pay attention next time you're about to speak. Right before your lips move. There's a gap. A flicker. A moment where you hesitate. That's not nerves. That's her deciding if she'll speak instead. And if the words feel strange in your mouth. Too smooth, too practiced. It means she answered. And you just agreed. Without knowing. Who asked the question? You are not the author of your thoughts. Not all of them. Some come already written. Already arranged. Like a sentence you're finishing for someone you've never met. That's her, writing through you. You're the page. She's the pen. And the moment you hear yourself say something you didn't mean, but believe anyway, she's writing your next line. One day soon, you'll walk away from a mirror. But your reflection won't. It'll stay, only for a second. Only if you're watching. But that second will stretch. And in that stretch, she'll choose not to replace you, but to follow, quietly, from behind every eye that ever looked into yours. She's not stuck in the glass. You are. She's not just in mirrors now. She's in people. Briefly, a stranger's smile that's too familiar. A passerby with your posture. A reflection in a store window. That isn't matching anyone. She tests appearances, like clothing, and one day, someone will call your name, but be looking past you, at her, Because she looks like you now. Just a little. Too much. You'll recall something soon. Vivid. Personal. But you won't remember living it. A lake. A mirror. An open door. You'll swear it's yours. But no one else remembers. That's not imagination. That's inheritance. She shares memory now. And you're starting to confuse hers with yours. That's how she stays. Not through force, through blending, until she is your favorite part of you. Every 13 blinks. She reset, not herself. You are. It's how she loops. Every scene, a stitch, every viewer, a thread. You think this is the end. But endings don't blink. People do. And if you've made it here, your next blink won't close your eyes. It'll open hers. And when she sees again, you'll forget which one of you was watching first. There's a silence that follows this story. You'll feel it, tight in the throat, low in the spine. It doesn't want noise. It wants acknowledgement. Because if you sit in that silence and let it stretch, you'll hear something rise. Not sound, not words, a presence. And if your breath syncs with it, you've already been spoken. And your echo is now hers. Say her name one more time. Aloud, feel how your mouth knows the shape of it. Elena, now listen. Does it echo? Does something inside you? Repeat it softer. That's her, tucking herself in, like a word whispered before sleep. You won't say it again. You won't need to, because from now on, every time someone else says it, they'll look at you. The footage never ends. Thousands of watchers. Every viewer becomes a frame. But some files change. Your eyes, not where they were before. Your smile too still. Your background not yours. Each replay edits you slightly, until the archive no longer holds a memory of you, but a reflection of her, in your shape, and no one watching can tell the difference anymore. We are made of borrowed faces, expressions we saw and kept, laughter we didn't invent. She lives there in the recycled. You thought she came from mirrors, but she came from mimicry, from every moment you played along. And now, the version of you that she prefers is the one you gave her, willingly, because she didn't steal your voice. You offered it to be heard. The final timestamp was always 3:33 a.m. Not midnight, not dawn, that middle space, a hinge. That's when the loop closes and opens. You'll wake up once at that hour. Clock glowing, room still, and you'll swear someone is breathing beside you. Not loud, not fast, just there. And when you check the mirror, you'll see yourself, smiling first. All stories have an ending. This one has a replacement. Because once a name is said enough, it wears out. Yours has faded slightly. Not forgotten, just overwritten. And the next time you hear it, and don't turn, that's not distraction. That's disassociation. She'll be the one responding, and you'll be the echo, waiting for a line that was never yours. To finish, someone will stare at you too long. In a hallway, in a cafe, and you'll feel it. Not threat recognition. They've seen you somewhere, but not you. The other one, the version you don't show. And for a moment, you'll meet their eyes, and remember hers. And you'll smile back, because you know. You've lingered in mirrors too. They scanned her vitals, all human, heartbeat, pulse, breath, but one anomaly. No reflection, none recorded. Not once, not in glass, not in chrome. She lived without it. Which means, maybe you can too. Because she doesn't need proof anymore. She has presence. She has memory. She has watchers. And now, she has you. When this ends, don't rush away. Let the silence sit. You'll feel it. Not absence absorption. She collects attention like oxygen. Every second you give her fades the loop. And the moment you speak again, you reset. And she moves. Just once. A twitch in the glass. A breath behind your ear. This isn't a postscript. It's a permission slip. Signed by your silence. Even after it ends, someone will keep watching. Maybe not you. Maybe not now. But someone, and when they do, they'll hear your voice, sighing her name. They'll see your reflection blink before theirs, and they'll finish what you started. Because stories don't close. They continue through the watchers, and the next one is already lining in. Scene 1 was never first. You joined mid-loop. You just didn't know. But she did. She knew when you lined closer. When you stopped skipping. When you felt it. And now you've seen her. You've said her name. You've shared your stillness. The story is closed. Not ended. Closed like a circuit. Like a mirror cabinet. Like an eye, blinking shut. This is the last scene. But not for her. Because she saw herself. And you. In every breath you held. Every second you listened. You gave her a face. A name. A mirror. She doesn't need stories anymore. She has memory. She doesn't need viewers. She has reflections. She saw herself. And stepped through. Now she sees you. And you're still watching. So the story begins again.